Hey, News Tart.
Hi,
So, have you heard about these rumors going on around town about us?
I have.
Would you like to address these rumors, News Tart Mona?
Sure. So, for the record, I would like to state that the rumors about us are definitely 1,000%.
Beep, 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 beep. Live from Wellston, Georgia, it's another episode of the Wartown Times. Be sure to stay up to date by joining the Wartown Times Facebook group on the Facebook.
Welcome back to another episode of the Wartown Times. I'm your humble author, narrator, and fictional character, Daniel Lewis Crumpton. Before we get into the meat of this episode, which will be the second Board of Elections meeting here in Houston County recently that took place on December the 14th, I want to do just a little bit of housekeeping. First and foremost, this is more than just content creation. What we're actually trying to do here at the Wartown Times is demonstrate how a community of we the people can come together with a simple understanding of the supreme law of the land and return our local government back to a constitutional republic in the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branches. And a huge part of this mission is dependent upon a document that the team of the Wartown Times crafted called a Friendly Neighborhood Manifesto. So if you haven't taken a look at this very small, easily to comprehend document, please do so. You can go to wartowntimes.com or our mothership, zeninthecard.com, and you want to click on a Friendly Neighborhood Manifesto. It's about 40 pages, take you 30 minutes to read, and if you're not prone to reading, there's actually a video audio version for your listening pleasure. It's a kind of a cornerstone of information that you do need to assimilate into your thinking and your activism in order to make our efforts here at the Wartown Times successful. Secondarily, what we would like you to do is we're doing pretty good on TikTok, but we would like to see our YouTube and Rumble numbers go up a little bit. So if you haven't taken the time to go to our YouTube channel, Zen in the Car, do that. Hit the subscribe, the like, the follow, the bell, all the doohickeys that give us dopamine. We would appreciate it. After that, I want to let you know that we now have a Wartown Times collection in the Zen in the Car store where you can have some of our nifty swag with our logos on it, mugs, caps, hats, things like that. It helps to fund the operation here, and we would greatly appreciate you taking the time to order from that. We will be having some, as time goes on, more political and humor type t-shirts and things like that you can pick up. In addition, if you really want to support us here at the Wartown Times and see us bring the fictional city of Warner Robins back to a constitutional republic, you can help us by becoming a patron over at Patreon. Just the amount that it would cost you for a soda a month. You can help us do this more and more and reach more and more people. We would greatly appreciate that. So, like I said, before we really dive into this next Board of Elections meeting, we would highly encourage you, if you haven't already, to please take the time to go to the Friendly Neighborhood Manifesto, either print it out or you can download it to your smart doohickey. Read the information there to see kind of where we're coming from and to equip yourself with some fundamental knowledge on how to interact with local government. And so with that little bit of housekeeping being done, let's get into the meat of this episode.
Continuing coverage, questions of election integrity continue in Houston County. Our Gloria Ruth-Finney is live in the studio after speaking with one candidate and hearing from the Board of Elections earlier tonight. Gloria Ruth?
Greg, those I spoke with were hoping to hear more tonight from that board on their findings following an investigation into the election for Post 2 City Council. Now the matter lies in the hands of the county attorney and the state.
Based on my understanding, they found some things that they need to refer to legal authorities.
Members of the Houston County Board of Elections seemed careful in choosing their words while addressing meeting attendees Tuesday evening. Following an election recount, incumbent Charlie Bibb was determined the winner over L. Ellis Carter by a single vote. However, on election night, some say Bibb was breaking state election rules at a polling location where he is said to have been spotted speaking with voters, even wearing his own campaign shirt. Kristen Keeper is the person who reported the allegations.
I was actually in the parking lot when all of that happened.
Now, after the Houston County Board of Elections conducted an investigation, everything that could happen next lies in the hands of the state.
We said in the findings that we had turned the report, the investigation, put it in the legal process.
Something was there. and they need to kind of, send it up for legal review and go from there. So they left a lot of things out, and I also heard from what I interpreted that the person that alleged would also, they already know what's going on. So we'll figure everything out.
It does sound like someone gave them a dishonest statement. I'm glad it wasn't me. We'll kind of wait to see what they find.
Charlie Bibb was not at tonight's meeting. While the board's findings remain uncertain, though, at this time, Bibb is set to be resworn as representative for Warner Robins Post 2 City Council in January. Reporting live in the studio, I'm Gloria Ruth Finney, WGXA News.
Okay, so where we left off last time is on December 5th at 5:30 in Perry, Georgia. The Board of Elections was going to meet after Kristen Kiefer and some other good residents of Wartown made it known that they believe that Charlie Bibb violated election law to receive 50% plus one. And so the Board of Elections said that they were going to do an investigation and let the truth rise to the surface and collect any evidence or information as to whether or not Charlie Bibb violated the law to get one vote, more than 50% to continue sitting as a city councilman. And so we're going to jump back into what occurred on that Board of Elections second meeting where the truth was supposed to rise to the surface. So very little commentary from me here, just little bits and pieces. I might want to come in and make some snarky remarks. But other than that, I think this will be more like a D-SPAN episode where you can see for yourself how things operate in local government. So we're going to jump right into the action. I'm going to be silent a little bit and enjoy the show. So here we go.
Time is now 5:30. We'll call the Houston County Board of Election meeting to order. We do have a quorum. After the prayers, one of our members who's at the hospital, she had surgery today. We do have a quorum. We've had the opportunity to review the agenda. There are motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion to adopt the agenda.
There is a second. Been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will call the agenda that is before us. Next order of business is to approve the meetings of the last meeting. Is there a motion to the November 14th meeting? Everyone has had the opportunity to review the meeting. Any corrections or addendums?
Did we get a copy of the agenda? Did we get a copy of the agenda?
Try to put 2 on 2 tables if you can, because we didn't run out last time.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the meetings of the last minutes as written. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the registration elect to the supervisor report. We have the best election registered supervisor in the state of Georgia. We can say the whole United States.
In your file folders, you will find your registration numbers as of December, and you also have a copy of the meeting minutes of November that's in your file folder. You have the active and inactive registration numbers that are in your folder. You should have a copy of a public statement draft that's also in there. Everything has been approved for Houston County Technical Center to be moved with the draft letter going up to the state election board to let them know of the progress with that. And that ends my report.
Well, thank you so much for that. Next item on the agenda is old business. First item of old business is the published statement in references the election day incident report. Thank the committee that went out and did their investigation. I'm going to turn it over now to the committee chair that did that, Esquire Andrew Bennett.
Thank you, Chairman. We recognize that many are here today for the findings of the investigation completed by the committee appointed at our last meeting by Chairman Childs. That committee is made up by myself, Board Member Falana, and Board Member Shelton. Our investigation, while largely focused on the alleged election law violations of a candidate, was equally geared toward addressing the allegations made against some of our poll workers and poll managers, one of which was a seasoned poll manager. Such is in our direct purview and is always of significant concern to this body. The committee has completed its investigation, and as many investigations reveal, there are several discrepancies and inaccuracies in statements that were made at our prior meeting when compared to actual evidence procured. Accordingly, it is the opinion of this committee and the entirety of this board that making unsubstantiated statements in a public forum to the detriment of an innocent member of the Board of Elections team member that are later proven to be false should bear some consequence, the least of which should include a personal apology from the individual responsible for making the comment to the person who received the same. We note that we have no authority to demand a personal apology and would instead articulate that it would be incumbent upon those individuals making those statements to right the wrong. As a board in this county, historically, we have all worked together very diligently to ensure that our elections fair, just, and accurate. That is not to say that we or any or all of our workers and managers are perfect. No one is. But I have a great deal of confidence in the integrity of all the people sitting at this table with me and those who give so graciously of their time to assist in the process of our elections here in this county. Like any board, prior to taking action or making statements, we require actual proof and evidence. That is what our time was focused on since November 14, 2023. We greatly appreciate Chairman Child's leadership and confidence in our committee to get to the bottom of the allegations against our staff and preservation of evidence for the alleged election law violations that occurred after the formal complaint was escalated to the Secretary of State and the State Elections Board. These comments are not accepting or excusing any illegal conduct by any candidate, any violation of Georgia law, or to the extent it ever occurs in the future, any substantiated allegation against any member of our early voting or election day teams. Let us all hope the latter of which never occurs. At this time, we will not be commenting on the findings of the committee beyond acknowledgement that allegations were addressed. Evidence was collected in the form of video and statements from those working in the poll locations directly connected to the allegations, and the same will be turned over to the appropriate state agency once we are contacted. As the race at issue was one for Warner Robins City Council, Mr. Tom Hall Esquire, that is the Houston County Attorney, and Ms. Julia Mize, who is the City Attorney for Warner Robins, will be provided with a full copy of those findings. To the extent that there are follow-up questions in that regard, we would refer you as a board to those individuals. This was very much a joint effort, and I would be remiss if I did not thank Board Member Falana and Board Member Shelton, for their efforts as valued members of this committee and this board. Ms. Shelton could not make it this evening as she had some pressing personal matters that could not be displaced. We're all praying for a quick and full recovery. I would also like to take a moment personally to commend Ms. Presswood and Mr. Holland for another successful election cycle. Your efforts are not unappreciated in this community or by this board. Accuracy down to one vote with an equally accurate recount speaks volumes to what these folks do every day and every cycle. The same was articulated by nearly all who watched and participated in this election. As an organization, our goal is to remain focused on the task at hand, ensuring fair, just, and accurate elections in accord with Georgia law. With that, Chairman, I yield the floor back to you.
Well, I want to thank you and your team for doing such a great job at the store. In turn, we went out and collected video from the voting locations. You interviewed people, that statement, and I just want to thank you for compiling that report and forwarding your findings, put it in the legal realm for them to take the appropriate action as necessary as they reach a report. So I thank you for that also. The next item on.
So this was the primary reason that most of the people were in the room, is to hear the truth rise to the surface, as we were promised last Board of Elections meeting on the investigation into Charlie Bibb being in polling places when he wasn't supposed to. It was very fancy, but it didn't say whether or not he had violated the law. They basically are passing the buck up to the county attorney, to the city attorney, and to the Secretary of State, but nowhere in that commentary did it say, yeah, he actually did it, or no, he didn't do it. So I thought that was a little ironic that, you know, it's a lot of word salad, and we're not really going to tell you yes or no. So if you guys are apathetic come January, Charlie Bibbity Bibb Bibb can be sworn back in again and mum's the word, it seems to me. If nobody does anything or, makes a stink about it, that he's going to get sworn back in. So anyway, let's continue.
The board is challenged voters missing street addresses.
The challenged voters missing street addresses were actually when the person registers to vote, they may use a post office box physical address instead of using their home address. And to actually get that person registered, they're put in a holding status and sent a letter giving them a date to actually give us a physical address so we can actually district them. But at some point, we have to either accept or reject it, but you cannot accept an address that is not a physical residential address. And so the question is how long do you give that person to return the registration application? At this point, we are sending a letter with a new registration card and also directing them to the My Voters page if they want to update their address. The letter states 45 days. I don't know if the board wants to continue with that or if you want to change it. That's the question at hand.
Okay, thank you for that, but let me just thank you for your efforts to make sure that all our voters are informed of the voting process and to urge them to participate in the voting process and keeping their status up to date. So we have a report of 45 days. Is there a motion to let 45 days be the deadline for the person submitting their reply to the missing address?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to give the individual 45 days to take the necessary action to correct that missing address. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of 45 days being the deadline for the individual to correct that missing address and become back current in the voting process, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed have the same right. It's unanimous. And I thank you, Ms. Deborah, for your work and all of that. New business, we come to the end of the year. This year we elect a chair going forward for 2024. The process is that the vice chair moves up and then we would nominate another person for that chair. It's been time past. Is there a motion to follow those same procedures in electing the vice chair?
So moved.
Was there a second?
Second.
Okay, been moved to second that we follow previous actions of electing the chair and vice chair for the Houston County Board of Election. So following those procedures, the chair for 2024 would be Ms. Pam Morgan. Thank you for that. And if I'm not mistaken, the vice chair would be Mr. Andrew Bennett. So, we'll start off with the chair. Is there a motion to elect Ms. Pam Morgan as chairman of the Houston County Board of Election?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved in the discussion. Been moved and second that we elect that Ms. Pam Morgan will be the Houston County chairman of the Board of Election. In a discussion. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed have the same right. Congratulations on that. Second item of business is for the vice chair. Is there a motion to elect Mr. Andrew Bennett as the vice chair of the Houston County Board of Election.
I make a motion that we accept Mr. Andrew Bennett as vice chair.
Is there a second?
2024.
Been moved and second that Mr. Andrew Bennett is the vice chair of the Houston County Board of Election. Any discussion? Hearing none, then we're ready for the vote. All those in favor of Andrew Bennett becoming the vice chair of the Houston County Board of Election, let it be known by saying aye. Aye. That's unanimous. There's no nays. The next item.
I just want to make a note. Most of the time in chairs and committees around Houston County and Wartown, this is how, there's not anyone in the room. And this is actually how chairs and vice chairs are elected and reelected. 6 people in a room who know each other, and then they just elect and reelect each other. It just so happened that there were people here who wanted to find out whether or not Charlie Bibb broke the law before he's sworn in January. They got to see it, but it kind of, I don't know if it went over everyone's head or not. But this is typically how people get elected in communities is, they're alone in the room and then they go, you guys want to do the same thing we did last time to reelect ourselves over and over again in places of power? And then it just keeps on going. Anyway, let's get back.
Business is the public comment, and we're open the floor for any public comment.
Hey there. I'm Kristen Kiefer. Think y'all do that in front.
So at this point, Kristen Kiefer, the head of the Houston County Democrat Party and the awesome individual who reported Charlie Bibb for possibly violating election law in order to get 50% plus one, was a little late to the party. And so I guess, people in the room were texting her to let her know that in the address to her allegations and all of our concerns that this may be the case, wasn't really revealed to us whether or not their investigation found out if he was guilty or not. So Mrs. Kiefer is going to continue being a rock star to bring this issue to the forefront and try to stop this barreling buck back into City Hall where she can. So let's listen to what she has to say, because this is where it gets really, really good. And my heart just swells up because of the people in this community are finally, after a long time, starting to pay attention to how things are done around here, and they're starting to get a little bit more loud about it. And so I do want to commend Kristen Kiefer for leading the charge in this in general and in this meeting, because it gets really good. So let's keep going.
So I came in a couple minutes late, but I'm trying to understand from my friends in the back. Though at the last meeting we were publicly told that we would be given the findings of this investigation by now former chairman, I guess?
Correct.
Outgoing chairman, that was not the case, and we actually were not given, I guess, a public statement, but it's my understanding that we were not given the results of that investigation, and we won't be getting them tonight.
Well, you were given the result, but you might not understood what you heard. The findings of the investigation has been turned over into the legal realm.
Okay, can we clarify that for the public so that those of us who, there's a lot of us who came and made public comments, spoke about it, and myself as the witness to one of those events. We probably use a little bit of clarification because it is a matter of public concern that's already been, all over the media for the past month.
Let me just say that my undergraduate degree, University of Georgia, political science. My master's degree is in human resource development. My doctorate is in business development. So that means that we, the board, are not able to make any determination about the result of the board. The board, for right now, it has been given, put in the legal realm, and the legal people will take the appropriate action as they deem necessary according with the findings.
So, we're just asking if you guys saw him on video or by eyewitness accounts in the polling places. We understand that it's over in the legal realm, which probably means yes, but it would be nice if you just told us yes. Anyway.
The report of the irregularities.
Okay, and I understand what you're saying about the board not being able to make a determination about any sort of legality one way or the other, but I do think that we as members of the public are entitled to know what is being turned over for legal review.
Absolutely, and I can field that question if that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know,
when we did
all of us would like to know what it is that you saw that you're turning over.
When we did the public statement, what we did is we went and we've got video from the polling locations to the extent that we can disclose, and that was given to both the city and the county attorney. Nobody's trying to hide the ball.
That sounds like something somebody trying to hide the ball would say.
But from the standpoint that we're going to be the judge and jury in any of these matters, that's not our role as the board.
I understand that.
You filed a complaint with the Secretary of State. The State Election Board is involved, and accordingly, they are
As
the
our board
ones.
members advised me to do after the meeting that night.
And nobody is saying that that is untrue or anything like that. What we're saying is there are other forces now who are going to be completing their investigation. Our role became one of preservation. Preservation of evidence, preservation of statements from people who were at the polling locations. Those are the items that are going to be turned over to both the city and the county attorney, as well as the State Elections Board and the Secretary of State.
Okay, but so if I understand, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you're an attorney as well, right? So being that this is a public body, you know, and employed by the county.
But let me be clear, I'm not here in that capacity.
Yes, Mr. Bennett is also a member of the local bar association, and he's probably a great guy in person. I did have a brief interaction with him where I had to pay some money to have my assumptions that local courts don't really care about our fundamental or civil rights so much as who can make the judge happier in courts of law here. But he's not here in that capacity.
But I understand that, but is it not, so as far as the video from Creek, like, I mean, Georgia has a very, very broad open records request system. I'm not sure that I understand the purpose of not disclosing.
It is going to.
What was found, if we can just get it ourselves, you know, and we can. I mean, like,
And
we
you
can file an
can.
open records request for what you've preserved and get it.
And you certainly can, and there's nothing stopping you from doing that. We're reverting that back to the city and the county, and that it was a city election. And they're the ones in conjunction with the Secretary of State who are going to be addressing the allegations. So to the extent that there was any violation of the law, I think I made the statement very clear. People need to be held accountable. But to the extent that our body, as it sits here today, is going to be involved in anything more than preservation at this point, it's out of our hands.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no, I understand that, because the Secretary of State's office has contacted me and asked me to send in a notarized statement and all of that other stuff as well. I get that. But, you know, I also, to the extent that anyone here has asked me, I also disclosed what I sent to the Secretary of State's office. You know, and showed them a copy of the report that I submitted, you know, barring except for my social security number had to be on it, I didn't cover that up. But like I said, you know, I don't think anybody's asking for y'all to adjudicate it. I think we're asking, can you tell us what you saw? You don't have to comment on whether or not that's legal. Like, I mean, I think the main question that the public has continued to ask, and has definitely continued to ask me, since the quality of my photos was not great, was, did anybody actually see him wearing a t-shirt? Is that in the video from Mossy Creek? You know, that's the only thing that I reported. And so that was something that I was personally asking for clarification on, and I feel like, you know, given that I've subjected myself to the public scrutiny of being willing to report this, like, I mean, that would be kind of nice for everybody to be able to know.
And I would like to say something about that. Kristen Kiefer is absolutely 100% correct. She has literally put herself up for public scrutiny by bringing this forward. And, you know, again, I do commend her for being brave enough to bring it forward and put herself under that scrutiny. And I understand her frustration here was the frustration in the entire room, which is we appreciated the pretty speech. But what we, the people of Wartown, would like to know is if in the evidence that you gathered that is being passed off to the city, the county, and the Secretary of State, did he do it? We would like to know before he's sworn in as if nothing ever happened in January.
and while there's an ongoing investigation that could potentially have criminal implications for certain members of our community, I don't think that's something that the county and or the city attorney would advise us to disclose. If you all wish to do an open records request, by all means, you certainly may do so. That's been a path available to everyone in this room.
The entire time, correct, yeah. All right, well, that's the way that we try to do about it. There's, you need what you can do, but I did just want to ask the question because, I was told that, I would, because I need to ask for the investigation, that I would,
And you, as we say, I told you that I will get you a copy of the report, and you'll get a copy of the report.
Okay.
But
and
until
I don't expect the report to say, that
until the legal
specifically,
until the legal brains get their hands on it, okay, and do their process, okay, I can say that if it's in the legal process, there was some irregularities in the voting process. We'll just we'll leave it at that, okay? Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the legal process.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be in the legal process.
So look, I am not busting the Board of Elections balls here. It really is out of their purview. They don't have the power to do anything. I think that the frustration is coming from, hey, just tell us, what you saw. And I understand them doing the CYA thing also. But they're telling us that he did violate it because it's in the legal realm, or else it wouldn't be in the legal realm if he didn't violate election law. And so that's kind of where we're at. So don't think that I'm busting the Board of Elections balls on this. I'm not. I mean, they're in between a rock and a hard place. They're doing the best that they can. They don't want to say anything out of the way. But we, the people, are kind of frustrated about it. And, now is the part, one of my favorite parts of this Board of Elections meeting, when rock star and president of the local NAACP, Jonathan Johnson, gets up to say his fiery piece. And I love it whenever anyone is just as passionate about injustices or irregularities that are going on in local government as him. So let's hear what Jonathan Johnson of the Houston County NAACP has to say.
I would like to say, but I would like to say we the people, we're not here based on your qualifications. We're here based on Charlie Bibb's qualification. He wasn't qualified. First of all, he came into, and I do not apologize, because he came in and stated that he was running for office. He knew the rules. This wasn't his first time running for election. This was his second time running for election. But Charlie Bibb knew that he was being challenged. He was being challenged by an American warrior that has put his life on the line for the United States of America to fight for freedom for you and me. And that's what that young man has done. And now he's asking you all to give him that freedom that he fought for. We're supposed to be the county of the Air Force, aim high. We're supposed to be the county of the few and the proud. We're supposed to be the county of be all that you can be. Why can't we do that? That's what we stand for. That's why we have the high education here in Houston County schools. That's why we have students and athletes going with Deion Sanders and playing at the University of Georgia. Because Houston County has been a county that's stand for excellence. And right now, we're asking and we're shouting and we're knocking and we're banging on the tables to let you know that we, the people, want Charlie Bibb to not to be sworn in as a next county elected official for post 2. He do not deserve that because he broke the rules of the election. And that's my stance, and I continue to stand on it, and I stand, my name is Jonathan Johnson, and I'm the Houston County NAACP president.
I mean, right? Jonathan Johnson he's echoing what everybody in the room is feeling, which is Ellis Carter ran for city council post 2. And though it looks like Charlie Bibb won by 1 vote, I first want to commend Ellis Carter for getting 50% of the vote when he was a newcomer to the scene, for one thing. And what the people of Wartown are saying is what Jonathan Johnson just said, which is, you mean to tell me that while all this is going on, we're going to completely get rid of everyone who came out for a newcomer out of nowhere wanting change, people went out and voted for Ellis Carter, and the incumbent gets one vote, and then there are questions of whether or not he procured that one vote through means of underhanded stuff. And you know what I mean? It's like that's what we want to know, because again, if it just squeaks by, Charlie Bibb will be sworn back in January as if nothing ever happened. And had Kristen Kiefer not brought this to the forefront of everyone's mind, it would have happened without missing a beat. I guarantee you. So I spy with my multidimensional eye that if Kristen Kiefer never would have said anything, nobody would have said anything. And Charlie Bibbity Bibb would have been sworn in after having 50% plus one and going into polling places, allegedly. I guess we'll find out when the proper authorities let us know. He would have been sworn in, So anyway, this is why it's important to speak up and stand up when others speak up and echo what they're saying, like Jonathan Johnson. So let's continue.
Thank you.
Clarification. The report will go to the attorney for the city of New Orleans.
And the county attorney.
And the county attorney. So does that mean that there were findings that would relate to some kind of a county violation as well as a city ethics violation?
We're not going to comment on any potential legalities associated.
And that's why I made my statement about qualification. We are not qualified to make a statement or render an opinion on findings. That's what my whole qualification statement
You're not qualified to make a statement that you did an investigation and you had findings. The only qualification is we made the statement and we're giving it to somebody else to deal with. Is that a summary?
No, that's not a good summary. There is a legal process. And in that legal process, if someone is found guilty of a crime, be it a misdemeanor or a felony, they have a right to a day in court. That is where we are. We are not the judge and jury in this case, nor will we act as one, regardless of how many times you guys ask the same question. It's going to the county attorney and to the city attorney. They will respectively address any comments you all have with regard to what's going on with Charlie Bibb. Nobody's trying to hide the ball. We have our own service members on this board. We have a variety of folks, and we've done our due diligence and preservation to the nth degree.
Because that's my question. Your preservation was the investigation that you did.
Yes,
that
ma'am.
preserved in documents,
Yes,
interviews or whatever, and that's the information that's being passed on to those two attorneys.
Yes, ma'am. In addition to the Secretary of State and State Election Board.
And again, I want to make a point of order about my question.
Excuse me.
It's not
Ms.
asking
Christian.
you to make a
Ms.
judgment.
Christian, excuse me. What was your name again?
I'm sorry, Carolyn Schomer, SCHOMER.
Okay, but whoever speaks, we'd like for you to give your name before you speak, please. Thank you.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
You need it for the record.
We had a point of order. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, my question was not asking the board to relay, a finding as far as, like, acknowledging that a crime was committed or something. I think we were just asking for the details, I think you said that, and I wasn't here for your statement. Like I said, I came a few minutes late, so I didn't hear it for myself.
I promise you, if you want, I will read it to you.
You're good, but I'm just, like I said, that's the point I'm making, is that I didn't hear it myself. So my questions are genuine based on the fact that I came in the room after it was read. And I don't think anybody's asking y'all to pass judgment. We know that's not possible. That was made clear from the very beginning. That any sort of, legal process would be handled outside of here, and that, the board's role was to investigate it. I'm actually not sure what the process was after that. I mean, I'm understanding what you're telling me now, but, when we left last month, it wasn't clear, what, the process after the fact would be. And, like I said, I have no, issue disclosing exactly what it is that I wrote up and sent. And I'm sure y'all may have seen it at this one. I've already mailed it in, but it's the same thing that I sent y'all. But
what I can tell you, if it helps, our report included the bevy of press releases. It included a release from the DNC. It included I'm sorry. There you go. Thank you.
I'm like, you didn't get involved either, it was just me.
Whoever it was who
Yeah,
made
the
the initial
county.
press release.
That was me, yeah.
Right. All of that stuff is included in our files. We're not trying to do anything other than to get it to the right group to address the actual infraction.
Right, which is exactly
to the
what I did as well.
extent that there was an infraction, is what I'm going to say.
And like I said, I just want to clarify that my question was not asking whether or not y'all could determine if there was an infraction. We just expected that we would, hear what you saw, not necessarily hear you pass judgment on what you saw. That was our expectation.
Oh, I just wanted to ask if now Vice Chair Zaire Brown, Zaire. I just want to ask if now Vice Chair Bennett could reiterate or expound upon what you stated about false allegations and the consequences thereof.
There were several false allegations not necessarily made. I'm not referencing Mr. Bibb, I'm referencing our poll workers and our poll managers, because that is in our direct purview as well. That's what I was referencing.
Thank you.
Again, I do want to know, I'm not sure if y'all got the updated copy, I know that the county attorney did, but there was a section of the press release that got walked back after somebody called and let us know that wasn't necessarily.
It wasn't with regard to your statement.
Okay, just making sure. I'm like, we did walk that back to every media organization and the county. But if y'all did not get a copy of that, I can send it.
And let me express, we did the investigative group as a committee, as I stated. There were 3 of us, myself, Member Falana, and Member Shelton.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of us reviewed this. We circulated it to full board, as we always do with any type of investigation that we're going to do before we made a statement. So we've had full disclosure for everyone on the inside, in addition to the report, all that stuff. Certainly if you all have questions on it, if you want to get a copy of it, it's simple enough to reach out to the county attorney. That will be going to him after this meeting because we felt we owed it to the public, as we do our own board members, to have this conversation before they get handed the hot potatoes.
Of course. Yeah. And I think that's fair, and I appreciate, the board taking the time to investigate. Like I said, I think our interpretation was different at all in the years tonight.
So you can't see her too good in the video, but this is probably becoming one of my favorite people in the community, Dr. Rutha Jackson, who is the author of The Battlefield of Belonging, who we're going to be having on the show soon. I think she used to be the president of the NAACP, but I just think she's just a rock star superhero. So let's hear what she has to say.
And I want to just thank you all for the investigation and for the information that was sincerely gathered so that we could actually bring some kind of closure to what happened and so that it will not happen again. And hopefully, the legal persons will actually give us a good overview of what is going on and what will happen. I know what our desire is, and I know that it's our desire. But if the findings do not support that, then we definitely understand that. We will not try to rally the community to for such a thing if that's not a legal aspect in which he broke for what happened during that time. So I wanted to put that out there. I know that all of us are members of the NAACP, but we're not forcing anything, but yet we want the truth. That's all we want.
And the truth is in the report.
Ariel Phillips, as someone who's just following along, this may not be a question to you guys, but if you do know, how can we follow up with this? Like, where would we look to follow up with this in the future? The results of it? Would we go to like City Council or the County Commission? Like, how are we gonna find this out? The information in the future.
I can field that one. Talk to her because she's complaining, so she will obviously be given a copy of whatever it is that they found.
Carolyn Shummer again. I wanted to say how much I appreciate this board and how sorry I am that all this happened. I've been a poll watcher, I've been poll counter, I've been all of those for several years. And I've always been proud to say to all my relatives and friends all over the United States, Houston County does a good job, and I think you do. I'm just really always pleased. Everything I've seen has been good. So I'm just sorry that this happened because how it's caused extra work for you. I'm sorry that it happened for our community, but I'm sorry for the reputation for Houston County because we've got a great reputation election-wise. I think we'll continue it, but we still got to work on that. So I just want to thank you all for what you have done.
Thank you, everyone.
Kiera Jackson. I just wanted to clarify whether or not it was the appeal of this board or the appeal of the attorney in question in the report to seek the consequences for the person or people, entities that made the false allegations against the poll workers.
Say the question again.
So, who is seeking the consequences for the?
Nobody's seeking consequences. We have no authority to do so.
So in the report, it was mentioned that somebody felt as if there was corrective action that needed to be brought against the person.
We recommended an apology be issued.
Okay, so that
was it.
And I put a caveat to all this, that stated this way. We respect people. Okay? For us to digress the whole matter without having other individuals know first, the legal process know first, individual involved in the process know first, okay? That's just common decency for them to know first, because all the information to the public is going to be known, but they ought to know first, and I think you all feel the same way. If something happened to your family, okay, you want to know first, okay? You want to know what happened, the truth first, before everybody else, and that's just the process and of how things operate. Legal matter, go to the legal matter, jump up and down on the legal matters desk, okay? Not our desk, the legal folks' desk. They are the ones who have the power. We turn over our investigation to them. Now they, to their court. Again, I thank everyone.
One more question. So, separate from anything that's going on in the legal process, and this could be something that's going to have to wait on the legal process to play out, and because I understand, but are we able to ask, separately, if the board is planning, any training or anything like that in the future, to help people, better recognize these sort of situations? And, I talked about, every time and this is a testament to how well Houston County does things. Anytime I've walked into a polling location on election day and I wasn't there to vote, if I was there to observe, somebody asked me for my letter. I just made sure that I was a credentialed observer. And given that, I might be the only person in this room that can say that didn't happen because I was, there and not there. But is there discussion of how we, maintain the excellence that we've had so far amongst, our election workers, so that this don't keep happening?
Let me just say.
And not that I think they necessarily will.
You can answer
I
that
defer
first.
to Ms. Presswood because I think she's the one who spearheaded this.
I'm gonna answer it first, then she can answer. We have the best trained workers in the county. They are trained every cycle in voting. She practically certified them in their job, okay? So, I am confident that they know exactly the process and the legalities and the code. Now you can go ahead.
Christian, just to answer your question on the observers and the monitors and that type thing. What happens is when on election day or any time that we're opening the polls, from the time that we open the outside door to the time that we lock the door, an observer, meaning anybody off the street, can come in and actually observe you all day. You don't have to have credentials for that. But when you are a monitor or a poll watcher, you have to have credentials. The polling locations in Houston County, when we already know in advance, well, the poll managers already know in advance whether or not they will have an observer or a poll watcher.
I've seen it.
Because we actually give them that information. In this election, of course, you can have an observer because we don't know if you're going to come off the street. But they did not have certified poll watchers nor monitors. So there was no reason for them to look for that because legally, meaning certified where somebody had appointed them, they had none. So they were not going to ask for credentials because legally we didn't have any. So if you wanted, so they were going to at that point assume that everybody was walking in, you're observing. And you just don't go into the enclosed space.
Okay, I was going to ask for a point of clarification here, because my understanding is that in order to, observe the actual voting process, you do need to, the state law requires now that you've been properly trained and that you have a letter, certified. If we're talking about the lobby and that being different, I understand your point.
Right, and when I say when an observer can walk in, you just can't come within the enclosed space, and that's the difference.
Okay.
Conclude our public comment section. Next item on the agenda is to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor say aye. Again, thanks everyone for your concern.
Thank you all for coming. Hey,
And not just be sitting.
appreciate it.
So basically.
Thank you
Hey, how are you? I love your hair. Yes, all right. I love it. Thank you.
We started doing work.
Really?
I was
And there you have it, the December the 5th Board of Elections meeting where the truth was supposed to rise to the surface, and it was, garnished with, we can't really say what we found, but it's in the legal realm, which probably means that Charlie Bibb did it. So they did a great job. They were in between a rock and a hard place. But the story does continue. As they said, it has been passed on to the county attorney and the city attorney because now it is a matter of we, the people of Wartown, to take it into our own hands and take Charlie Bibb to task if, in fact, he did do it. And I will say, as a little preview in the next episode, my heart swelled like the Grinch this year when I saw a lot of people who were at this meeting follow it up at a city council meeting to address their concerns regarding this, because this is really important. I mean, this is something that we should be very, very upset and diligent about is, does Charlie Bibb, is he qualified to be sworn in as a city council member if in fact there is this looming investigation, not even in addition to other controversies that he's been a part of. Should he be sworn in? I mean, if it's in the legal realm, then we can kind of go, there's something there. What would it look like if the city of Warner Robins went along to get along and swore him in January with this floating over City Hall's head? So we're going to find out in the next episode when all of these rock stars who are having their voices heard continue to take it to the public arena in front of Madam Mayor and City Council. So we hope that you join us for that. We hope you enjoyed this D-SPAN episode. Hey, if you weren't here at the Board of Elections meeting and you weren't at the City Council meeting that followed it, you need to start showing up and you need to start having your voices heard. Don't just be sitting on the sidelines expecting people like Dr. Rutha Jackson and Jonathan Johnson and Ellis Carter and Kristen Kiefer to do things. You got to go. You got to show up and you got to have your voice heard. That's the beauty of this country. And when you're silent, you can't complain when you get the shaft. So anyway, we hope that all of you had a wonderful Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, or, the holiday of your choice this past year. We hope you have a wonderful, happy new year. And we look forward to bringing you the next episode because it gets even better than this. So until then, stay well. It's fucking great.
Beep, 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 beep. Live from Wellston, Georgia, it's another episode of the Wartown Times. Be sure to stay up to date by joining the Wartown Times Facebook group on Facebook.
I don't know this guy personally, Mr. Bennett. I do know that I have had an interaction with him in the past year where my assumptions that local courts don't really care too awful much about our civil or fundamental rights was affirmed, that it's more about, who can perform fellatio better on a judge. That was reaffirmed to me by Mr. Bennett, who was going to be reading this report. So let's listen in. Better not say that shit.